Jesus' teachings on peace and patience stand as two of the most profound pillars of his ministry. These virtues, seen throughout his life and in the words he imparted to his followers, transcend the typical understanding of human calmness or the mere absence of conflict. Rather, peace and patience, as Jesus taught and embodied them, invite believers into a deeply rooted spiritual state, a profound inner serenity anchored in unwavering faith and an enduring hope in God's love and purpose. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus delivers one of his most famous discourses, the Sermon on the Mount, which lays out the essential characteristics of a life aligned with God's kingdom. Among these teachings, Jesus says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." Here, Jesus speaks to a peace that is not passive or merely the absence of war. Rather, it is an active pursuit of reconciliation, justice, and healing. To be a peacemaker is to bridge divides, to look beyond anger, and to seek harmony even in a world marred by discord. This approach is a calling to be agents of change and unity, mirroring God's reconciling nature by reaching out in love and forgiveness. Jesus' blessing upon peacemakers invites followers to actively foster peace in their relationships, communities, and within themselves, reflecting the kingdom of God in a broken world. Patience is another key virtue that Jesus exemplifies, and it is especially evident in his interactions with his disciples and others who sought his help. Despite misunderstandings and failures, Jesus remained gentle, guiding his followers patiently, offering forgiveness and encouragement as they struggled to grasp the depths of his teachings. The patience of Jesus is not merely a tolerance for delay or an avoidance of irritation. It is a deep, enduring understanding of human limitations, a willingness to wait for others to grow, and a profound empathy that honors each person's journey of faith. In the parable of the prodigal son, Jesus illustrates this patient love through the father who waits expectantly for his lost son's return. The father's readiness to forgive, embrace, and celebrate his son's return reflects God's patience with humanity, a boundless mercy that welcomes us back with open arms, regardless of past mistakes. Throughout his ministry, Jesus consistently displayed a peace that transcends circumstances, exemplified by his response to challenges and persecution. In the Gospels, when he faced hostility or provocation, he answered not with anger or retaliation, but with grace and composure. During his arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane, when one of his disciples draws a sword in defense, Jesus says, "Put your sword back in its place, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword." His words reveal an understanding of true peace that surpasses human reactivity. Jesus trusted God's plan even when it led him to suffering. His peace was unshakable because it was rooted in his trust in God, a peace that did not depend on external conditions, but rather on his unwavering connection to God's love and purpose. Through his calm demeanor and forgiving nature, even in the face of betrayal and pain, Jesus showed that peace is not the avoidance of hardship, but the ability to remain centered in the love and will of God. Jesus' journey to the cross is perhaps the ultimate expression of patience and peace. Faced with a fate of unimaginable suffering, he did not resist or retaliate. Instead, he willingly accepted the path laid before him, trusting that his sacrifice would bring redemption and healing to humanity. In the Gospel of Luke, as he hung on the cross, he uttered the words, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." This profound act of forgiveness in the midst of agony reflects a peace and patience that transcend human comprehension. His love was patient and enduring, extending even to those who persecuted him. It is a reminder to believers of the power of patience and forgiveness to transform even the darkest moments into opportunities for grace and healing. In the Gospel of John, Jesus promises his followers a unique kind of peace, saying, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid." Here, he contrasts the peace he offers with that of the world. Worldly peace may be fleeting, dependent on circumstances or external agreements. But the peace Jesus imparts is enduring and eternal, anchored in God's unchanging presence and love. It is a peace that guards the heart from fear and anxiety, offering a deep assurance that, despite the uncertainties of life, God remains sovereign and faithful. This peace invites believers to rest in God's promises and to let go of the burdens that weigh upon the soul, entrusting their lives and futures to God's loving hands. The virtue of patience is similarly highlighted in Jesus' teachings on forgiveness. In response to Peter's question about how many times he should forgive someone who sins against him, Jesus replies, "I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times." This teaching emphasizes that patience, especially in the context of forgiveness, is a continuous and boundless commitment. To forgive repeatedly, without holding on to resentment or judgment, requires a patient heart, a heart that mirrors God's own endless patience toward humanity. By forgiving others as God forgives us, believers embody the patience that Jesus so often modeled, reflecting God's mercy and love in their interactions with others. Moreover, Jesus teaches that patience and peace are integral to cultivating a life of faith. In the parable of the sower, he describes how different types of soil represent the various ways people receive the word of God. The seeds that fall on good soil represent those who, with a noble and good heart, hear the word, retain it, and by persevering produce a crop. Patience, therefore, is essential to spiritual growth. Just as a seed takes time to germinate and bear fruit, so does faith require patience, resilience, and trust in God's timing. The cultivation of peace and patience is not an overnight process. It is a journey of steadfastness, a daily surrender to God's guidance, and a continual commitment to walk in love and trust. In addition to his teachings, Jesus' own life serves as a model for how to live in peace and patience. He often withdrew to quiet places to pray, finding solace and strength in his communion with God. These moments of retreat and solitude reveal his commitment to inner peace and his recognition of the need for spiritual rest in a demanding world. By prioritizing his relationship with God, Jesus demonstrated that true peace flows from an intimate connection with the divine. This practice of prayer and reflection invites believers to seek God's presence as the source of their own peace, finding in him the strength to endure trials and the calm to face each day with hope. The resurrection of Jesus serves as the ultimate affirmation of the triumph of peace and patience. Through his death and resurrection, he conquered sin and death, demonstrating that God's love is victorious over all forms of suffering and strife. This victory offers believers a hope that sustains them in times of hardship, a reminder that even when peace seems distant and patience is tested, God's promises remain true. Jesus' resurrection assures his followers that peace is not just a fleeting experience, but an eternal reality rooted in the very nature of God's kingdom. Jesus' invitation to take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, encapsulates the essence of peace and patience. By inviting believers to share in his gentle spirit and to learn from his example, Jesus offers a path to inner peace that transcends human understanding. To walk with Jesus is to experience a life of patient trust, a journey that, though it may involve trials and tribulations, is marked by the assurance of God's abiding presence. In the Beatitudes, Jesus blesses the meek, the merciful, and the peacemakers, highlighting the importance of humility and compassion in the pursuit of peace. These virtues, intertwined with patience, create a foundation for a life that reflects God's love. By embodying these qualities, believers are able to cultivate harmony in their relationships, foster reconciliation, and build a community rooted in kindness and understanding. In a world often driven by self-interest and conflict, the call to be meek, merciful, and peaceable is a radical invitation to live counterculturally, to prioritize love over power, and to embrace patience as a path to genuine peace. The teachings and example of Jesus on peace and patience remain as relevant today as they were in the first century. In a world marked by anxiety, division, and the pursuit of instant gratification, his call to be peacemakers and to cultivate a patient heart stands as a beacon of hope and guidance. Jesus' peace invites believers into a life of trust and surrender, a life that is not dependent on external circumstances, but grounded in the unwavering assurance of God's love. His patience encourages believers to walk gently with one another, to forgive freely, and to bear one another's burdens with compassion and understanding. In conclusion, the peace and patience taught and embodied by Jesus invite us into a deeper relationship with God and a more harmonious relationship with each other. These virtues, far from being passive or simplistic, are dynamic forces that have the power to transform lives, communities, and the world. They call us to live with open hearts, to trust in God's timing, and to extend grace and mercy to others, reflecting the boundless love of God. Through peace and patience, Jesus offers a path to wholeness and fulfillment, a life that is aligned with the heart of God and filled with the hope of His eternal promises. Peace and patience, as presented by Jesus, are not simply virtues to be practiced, but are foundational aspects of a life aligned with God's divine plan. They are deeply interconnected and offer a pathway for believers to experience God's presence more fully, both in their inner lives and in their interactions with the world. Jesus' teachings and actions embody these qualities, revealing their transformative power. When Jesus speaks of peace, He envisions a peace that goes beyond mere absence of conflict, a peace that brings healing, restoration, and harmony. Similarly, His patience is not a passive tolerance, but an active, enduring love that patiently waits, forgives, and restores. The Sermon on the Mount is perhaps the most iconic illustration of Jesus' perspective on peace and patience. In it, He invites His followers to adopt an approach to life that centers around God's love and grace, advocating for humility, mercy, and an unwavering dedication to peace. Blessed are the peacemakers, He declares, for they will be called children of God. This blessing does not imply that peacemaking is an easy or comfortable task. On the contrary, to pursue peace in a world fraught with division and hostility is challenging. Yet Jesus calls on His followers to be bold peacemakers, acting as agents of God's kingdom on earth. This peace is proactive, a force that seeks out reconciliation, forgiveness, and compassion. It challenges the believer to not only avoid conflict, but to actively heal broken relationships and create spaces where love and unity can flourish. Patience, as Jesus demonstrated, is an integral part of this process. In dealing with His disciples, He showed remarkable patience. Though they often failed to understand His teachings, missed the deeper meanings of His parables, and even doubted Him, He continued to guide them gently. Rather than becoming frustrated, Jesus used their misunderstandings as teaching moments, patiently walking alongside them as they grew in their faith. One notable example is His interaction with Peter, who repeatedly demonstrated a mix of enthusiasm and impulsiveness. Despite Peter's failures, such as denying Jesus 3 times during the crucifixion, Jesus ultimately forgave him, reinstating Peter with the words, "Feed my sheep." This act of patient forgiveness not only restored Peter's faith, but also empowered him to become a foundational leader in the early church. Throughout His ministry, Jesus demonstrated a peace that was unwavering and deeply grounded in His relationship with God. This peace allowed Him to remain calm in the face of opposition and to forgive those who wronged Him. One particularly moving example is Jesus' reaction to those who sought to trap Him or incite violence. When religious leaders questioned Him, trying to discredit His ministry, Jesus responded with wisdom and composure. His answers often surprised and silenced His critics, demonstrating His ability to maintain peace and clarity even under intense pressure. His peaceful demeanor was not one of passivity, but of strength and resilience, grounded in His understanding of God's purpose and love. By refusing to retaliate or engage in hostility, Jesus modeled a peace that is both courageous and profound. Perhaps the ultimate test of Jesus' peace and patience was His journey to the cross. Knowing the suffering He would endure, He prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane, saying, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." In this moment, Jesus' peace is not a mere acceptance of fate, but a willing surrender to God's plan, despite the personal cost. His patience is a trust in God's timing and a willingness to bear suffering for the sake of others. Even as He hung on the cross, Jesus continued to display peace and patience, uttering the words, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." This act of forgiveness, extended to those who persecuted Him, exemplifies the depth of His love and His commitment to peace. It reveals a patience that is willing to endure suffering, a peace that transcends human understanding. Jesus' teachings on forgiveness are closely tied to His message of patience. When asked by Peter how many times one should forgive, Jesus responded, "I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times." In this statement, Jesus emphasizes that forgiveness should not be limited or conditional. True forgiveness requires a patient heart, one that is willing to let go of resentment and bitterness repeatedly, reflecting God's own boundless forgiveness. This patience in forgiveness is not easy. It demands humility and a willingness to see others through God's eyes. By forgiving others as God forgives us, believers participate in a divine cycle of grace, embodying God's love and mercy in their relationships. Another powerful aspect of Jesus' message is his emphasis on inner peace. In the Gospel of John, he tells his disciples, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." This peace, distinct from any worldly tranquility, is a gift that comes from a deep trust in God. It is a peace that anchors the soul, offering comfort and stability in times of uncertainty and fear. This promise of peace is a reminder that, while life may bring challenges, believers are never alone. They are supported by God's unchanging presence and love, allowing them to face difficulties with courage and calm. Jesus invites his followers to receive this peace, to let go of their anxieties, and to rest in the assurance that God is with them. Patience is also essential for spiritual growth, as illustrated in the parable of the sower. Jesus describes how seeds, representing the Word of God, fall on different types of soil, each producing a different outcome. Those who receive the Word with a noble and good heart, and by persevering produce a crop, are compared to seeds that fall on good soil. Here, patience is portrayed as a vital component of faith. Just as seeds take time to grow and bear fruit, so too does spiritual maturity require time, resilience, and trust in God's timing. Patience allows believers to endure trials, to remain steadfast in their faith, and to trust in God's plan even when the outcome is uncertain. Through patience, believers cultivate a faith that is deep-rooted and resilient, capable of withstanding the challenges of life. Jesus' own life serves as a powerful example of this peace and patience. He often withdrew from the crowds to pray, taking time for solitude and reflection. These moments reveal his deep commitment to inner peace and his understanding of the importance of spiritual rest. By prioritizing his relationship with God, Jesus shows that true peace is not found in external achievements or worldly success, but in communion with the divine. His practice of prayer invites believers to seek God's presence as the source of their own peace, to find strength and renewal in quiet moments of reflection, and to allow God's love to fill their hearts. The resurrection of Jesus stands as the ultimate affirmation of the triumph of peace and patience. Through his death and resurrection, Jesus conquered sin and death, demonstrating that God's love is stronger than any suffering or strife. This victory offers believers a hope that sustains them in times of hardship, reminding them that, even when peace seems distant and patience is tested, God's promises remain true. Jesus' resurrection assures his followers that peace is not just a temporary experience, but an eternal reality rooted in God's kingdom and accessible to all who seek it. In his invitation to "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls," Jesus encapsulates the essence of peace and patience. He invites believers to share in his gentle spirit, to learn from his example, and to find a deep rest in God's love. This invitation is not merely a call to adopt certain behaviors, but a call to embrace a way of being, a life grounded in trust, humility, and a patient endurance that reflects God's own nature. Through peace and patience, Jesus offers a vision of life that is radically different from the values of the world. In a society that often glorifies speed, competition, and instant gratification, his call to patience and peace is countercultural. It is a call to live with open hearts, to see others through the lens of compassion, and to prioritize love over personal gain. It is a call to be patient with oneself and others, to trust in God's timing, and to cultivate a heart that is willing to forgive and to wait for God's unfolding plan. The teachings of Jesus on peace and patience provide a roadmap for navigating the complexities of life. By embracing these virtues, believers can experience a life of deeper connection with God and greater harmony with others. Peace and patience, as Jesus taught, are not just individual practices but communal values, qualities that build and strengthen relationships, foster understanding, and create a community that reflects God's love. They are an invitation to participate in God's kingdom here on earth, to be vessels of God's peace and bearers of his patient love in a world that so desperately needs both. In a world that often seeks quick fixes and immediate solutions, Jesus' message of peace and patience reminds believers of the value of waiting, of trusting, and of enduring. His life and teachings offer a vision of what it means to live with purpose, to walk in faith, and to embody God's love in every interaction. By cultivating peace and patience, believers can find a deeper sense of fulfillment, a stronger connection to God, and a greater ability to navigate the challenges of life with grace and resilience. Jesus' call to peace and patience is an invitation to live fully, to love deeply, and to trust in the enduring power of God's presence in every moment. This reflection provides a comprehensive understanding of how Jesus' teachings on peace and patience invite believers into a transformative journey, one that brings both inner peace. Peace and patience are central to the life and teachings of Jesus. For him, these virtues were more than just personal qualities. They represented essential pathways to living in harmony with God and others. Jesus' approach to peace and patience was revolutionary, challenging conventional attitudes and inviting believers to cultivate these virtues within themselves and to actively spread them in the world around them. His words and actions provide a profound framework for understanding how true peace and patience transcend fleeting emotions and become transformative forces that align us with God's love. One of the earliest glimpses of Jesus' perspective on peace appears in his famous Sermon on the Mount. Here, Jesus proclaims, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." This statement goes beyond merely avoiding conflict. It is a call to actively foster peace in a world marked by division. Peacemaking is not a passive stance, but an intentional act of healing and reconciliation. Jesus knew that genuine peace requires us to confront injustice, to forgive those who wrong us, and to work tirelessly for unity. His blessing on the peacemakers demonstrates that peace is a powerful way to reflect God's character. By calling his followers to be peacemakers, Jesus empowers them to become agents of God's kingdom on earth, embodying his love, compassion, and mercy. Patience is similarly central to Jesus' message and his interactions with others. He displayed patience not only as a form of self-control, but as a deep, abiding love for people's unique journeys. Jesus patiently guided his disciples, who often struggled to understand his teachings and frequently questioned or misunderstood him. Rather than becoming frustrated, Jesus took the time to explain, to reteach, and to encourage them. His relationship with Peter illustrates this patient love. Peter was enthusiastic but impulsive. He often spoke or acted without fully understanding the implications. Yet Jesus remained patient, helping Peter grow through his mistakes. When Peter denied Jesus 3 times, Jesus didn't respond with condemnation. Instead, he later reinstated Peter lovingly, saying, "Feed my sheep." This act of forgiveness and restoration reveals Jesus' deep patience and his commitment to guide others, no matter their shortcomings. Through his interactions, Jesus demonstrates that patience is a form of love that believes in people's potential and honors the time they need to grow. Jesus' approach to peace is also evident in how he dealt with conflict and opposition. Throughout his ministry, he encountered criticism, hostility, and even hatred from religious leaders and political authorities. Yet he did not respond with anger or resentment. When religious leaders tried to trap him with questions or accusations, he answered calmly and wisely, diffusing tension without compromising his message. In each situation, Jesus showed that peace does not mean avoiding conflict. It means addressing challenges with wisdom and composure. His calm responses were a testament to his unshakable trust in God, a peace that was rooted in something far greater than human circumstances. Jesus' peace was a product of his connection with God, and it allowed him to remain centered and compassionate even in the face of opposition. The patience of Jesus is particularly evident in his journey to the cross. Knowing the suffering he would endure, Jesus still chose to walk this path, displaying an extraordinary willingness to bear pain for the sake of humanity. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." This moment reveals the depth of his patience and peace. Jesus did not seek an escape. Instead, he entrusted himself to God's will. His willingness to endure suffering reflects a profound patience, a love that is willing to wait, to bear, and to sacrifice for the greater good. Even on the cross, in the midst of unimaginable pain, he prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." These words capture the essence of his patient, forgiving heart, a heart that held no bitterness or anger, even in the face of cruelty. Jesus' patience on the cross exemplifies his unwavering love and his commitment to bring peace and redemption to the world. In the Gospel of John, Jesus offers his followers a unique gift. "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives." This peace is not like the temporary calm that people may find in comfortable circumstances. Rather, it is an enduring peace that transcends external situations. Jesus' peace is grounded in his trust in God, offering believers a steadfast sense of security and hope, even in times of fear and uncertainty. He encourages his followers to rest in this peace, to not let your hearts be troubled, as a reminder that God's presence is a source of comfort that cannot be shaken. This divine peace does not shield believers from hardships, but it equips them to face challenges with courage, knowing that God's love sustains them. It is a peace that guards the heart and mind, a spiritual assurance that enables believers to move through life with a deep-seated sense of calm. In addition to peace, Jesus emphasizes the importance of patience in the spiritual journey. In the parable of the sower, he describes how seeds, representing the Word of God, fall on different types of soil, each producing a different outcome. Those who persevere and retain the Word, he says, are like seeds that fall on good soil and yield a fruitful harvest. This parable illustrates that faith requires patience. Just as seeds take time to grow, spiritual maturity develops gradually. Patience enables believers to endure trials and remain steadfast in their commitment to God, even when the path is uncertain or difficult. Through patience, believers cultivate a faith that is resilient, rooted deeply in God's promises. Jesus' parable encourages believers to trust in God's timing, to nurture their faith with dedication, and to allow their lives to bear fruit through patient perseverance. The life of Jesus exemplifies a perfect blend of peace and patience, qualities he cultivated through his relationship with God. He often withdrew from the crowds to pray, finding strength and renewal in solitude. These moments of quiet reflection reveal his commitment to inner peace and his understanding of the need for spiritual rest. By prioritizing his relationship with God, Jesus demonstrates that true peace flows from a connection with the divine. His practice of prayer invites believers to seek God's presence as their own source of peace, to let go of their worries, and to rest in the assurance of God's love and guidance. Jesus' peaceful demeanor was not simply a product of his character, it was the result of a life grounded in God's love, a love that filled him and flowed out to others. The resurrection of Jesus stands as the ultimate affirmation of peace and patience. Through his death and resurrection, Jesus overcame the powers of sin and death, demonstrating that God's love triumphs over all. This victory offers believers a hope that sustains them in times of hardship, a reminder that, even when peace seems distant and patience is tested, God's promises remain true. The resurrection assures believers that peace is not just a fleeting experience, but an eternal reality that is rooted in God's kingdom. This hope enables believers to live with a sense of purpose, trusting that, even when challenges arise, God's love endures. In his invitation to "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls," Jesus encapsulates the essence of peace and patience. This invitation is not a call to a life free of challenges, but to one where burdens are shared, and the journey is made easier by walking in harmony with Jesus. His invitation is a call to surrender the anxieties and burdens of life to God, to find rest in his presence, and to experience a peace that endures through all circumstances. The Beatitudes, which include blessings for the meek, the merciful, and the peacemakers, further illustrate Jesus' vision of a life marked by peace and patience. These virtues form the foundation for a life that reflects God's love. By embodying these qualities, believers become instruments of peace, creating a community that is rooted in compassion, humility, and mutual respect. In a world often driven by self-interest, Jesus' call to meekness, mercy, and peacemaking invites believers to live counterculturally, to prioritize love and understanding, and to embrace patience as a way of building unity and harmony. In a modern world that often prioritizes speed, competition, and instant results, Jesus' message of peace and patience remains profoundly relevant. He challenges believers to slow down, to be present, and to cultivate relationships with love and understanding. His teachings invite us to approach life with a heart that is both peaceful and patient, one that trusts in God's timing and seeks to bring harmony wherever possible. Jesus' peace is an invitation to let go of worry and to find strength in God's presence, while His patience reminds us of the importance of enduring, forgiving, and waiting in love. Through peace and patience, Jesus offers a vision of life that is not only deeply fulfilling, but aligned with God's kingdom, a life marked by trust, love, and grace. The teachings and example of Jesus on peace and patience invite believers into a journey of transformation. By embracing these virtues, believers can experience a life of deeper connection with God and greater harmony with others. Peace and patience, as Jesus taught them, are not simply ideals. They are practical and powerful ways to bring God's love into the world. They invite us to participate in the healing of relationships, to foster understanding, and to build communities that reflect the heart of God. They call us to live with open hearts, to forgive, to wait, and to love, embodying the peace and patience of Jesus in all we do. In a world filled with division and haste, Jesus' call to peace and patience is a beacon of hope,